Let me tell you one of my favorite stories, one you might have heard before, but maybe not like this. It's the story of an American businessman and a Mexican fisherman. But really, it's the story of how so many of us, without even realizing it, get trapped building a life we won't even enjoy once we arrive. The businessman was successful, smart, high-achieving, overwhelmed. His doctor warned him that if he didn't slow down, he'd crash. So he took a forced vacation to a small coastal village in Mexico. On his very first morning, his phone rang again. A crisis back home, a deal falling apart. He couldn't go back to sleep. So he walked to the pier to clear his head ahead. There, he saw a fisherman pulling in a small boat. Inside, just a few large yellowfin tuna glistening in the morning sun. The businessman smiled. "Beautiful catch. How long did it take?" The fisherman replied, "Just a little while." "Why not stay out longer and catch more?" the businessman asked. "I have enough," the fisherman said. "Enough for my family and to share with friends." The businessman tilted his head, confused. "But what do you do with the rest of your time?" The fisherman smiled. "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my kids, take siestas with my wife. In the evenings I sip wine and play guitar with my friends. I have a full and busy life, senor." Now, that would have been the perfect ending. But the businessman couldn't leave it there. He said, "Listen, I have an MBA from Harvard. I can help you. If you fish more, you can buy a bigger boat. With the profits, eventually a fleet. Then you cut out the middleman, open a cannery and control the supply chain. Of course, you'd need to move to Mexico City, then LA, then New York to run the company." The fisherman raised an eyebrow. "And how long will that take?" The businessman said, "Maybe 15, 20 years, but then you'll be rich. You can retire, to move to a small coastal village, sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take siestas with your wife, sip wine, and play guitar with your friends." The fisherman looked at him, smiled again, but said nothing. That's the story. It's clever, sure, but it's also tragic because it's not just about these two men on a dock. It's about us, you and me. I used to be that businessman, not with suits and stock options, but with a to-do list that owned me. I was building something important. But I was tired all the time, and when I wasn't working, I was still thinking about work. There was always something next, a launch, a project, a client, a future version of me I kept trying to reach, but the version of me that existed right now, she never felt like enough. Carl Jung called this living from the false self, the part of us that performs, pleases, achieves, trying to earn a sense of worth we were born with. And here's the quiet danger. If you build your life around that false self, you might succeed. You might become very successful. But one day, you'll stop and realize you never actually felt alive. You were always building towards a future that never came. The fisherman's story isn't telling you to stop dreaming or to live in a hut with a fishing pole. It's asking you, what are you sacrificing in the name of someday? Are you outsourcing your peace to the future? And how long have you been postponing the life you already know you want? There's a reason this story hits so many people in the gut. Because deep down, we've all been taught to believe, once I earn more, I can finally relax. Once I make it, I can finally breathe. But peace doesn't arrive when you cross the finish line. Peace is a skill. It's something you practice now, not later. Because later is a myth. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat still without guilt? When was the last time you celebrated something small without needing to make it bigger? If those questions feel hard, you're not broken. You're just tired. And maybe you've been chasing a life that never had you in the center of it. So here's the invitation. Don't wait until you retire to feel alive. Don't wait for permission to rest. Don't wait for the world to approve you're slowing down. It never will. Only you can decide what enough feels like. And the moment you do, you'll realize you didn't need a fleet of boats. You just need to remember who you are. If this story touched something in you, let it sit. Then share it with someone who needs a moment of peace, too. This is the Oracle Files, where we remember what the world forgets. And if you've been chasing something that never seems to satisfy, maybe it's time to pause and ask yourself, am I already there?